Hey guys, we're back 2 months later. When we diagnosed this thing back in February. Here we are in middle of April, May. What month is this? I think it's April, yeah. Middle of April. Needs to go to Eric's when someone goes today. It was 2 months later. Someone finally came here. The fella got me a used FICM. Now this here is the one that was on the vehicle. I came out here in the parking lot because it's been parked here forever and swapped it out. This one says 2005 Silverado 2500 pickup engine brain box. So here's the brains. Does it make me a brain surgeon? Whether it does or not, I guess it's a good thing to say that the surgery went well and the truck seems to run fine now and the money light's not on and there's no more misfire. Tried to jostle my memory from 2 months ago. It was pretty tough. I typically can't remember what I did yesterday. But fortunately, I took good notes and I looked at the waveform that we saved there on the Veris from back then, and it appears that we did a control off a trigger and then we did an amperage off of an injector. So now we're just going to run that pretty much that same test and we should see the sequence of the 4 firing sequences off from one power feed. It will look like what we did, and then the current ramp for an injector. And in this case, we can put our current ramp on to number 5 again, and then we can look at our voltage feedback. I think that's what we were doing. I hope. Anyhow, I got some leads here. I'm gonna get plugged into that because I left the caps off from the FICM. It looks like we took them off last time. I see some stuff on the front seat. We'll get probed into that to the number 3 control wire, and then we'll get hooked up with our amp clamp, and we should be able to gather a waveform of a known good and move on with life. Alright guys, so I've got our scope. I'll try to get this in out of the glare, and we're hooked. We've got a ground up there, and we're hooked back to the FICM. So I'm hooked to the number 3 control wire that actually goes to our injector, and then I'm also hooked to the number 3, I guess, command wire, I guess you may call it, that comes from the PCM. Alright guys, we got our scope out here, got a bunch of wires dangling off, got a wiring diagram, got our ground hooked up there, got 2 wires here going to the FICM, one to the number 3 control, and then we got, which actually goes to the fuel injector, number 3, and then we've got the other one going to the number 3, I guess, command wire, the wire that comes from the PCM to the FICM. And we come out and down and back in there, and I'm on to number 3 with a low amp clamp or low amp probe, inductive probe around the power wire going to the number 3 injector. So I guess we can come up here on the diagram, I can show you. So we are plugged into, let's see here, number 3 control, okay? I don't have a pen that works, so bear with me yet. So number 3 control, that one, like I say, that should go down. Yeah, so that one goes down and over. That goes to the PCM. PCM commands us to, fire the injector. And then we're also hooked into this white with a blue stripe, this number 3 command, and that should come all the way down, white with a blue stripe, to the number 3 injector right there. And then our low amp clamp is right there. Got all 3 channels set up. I'm gonna try to get it out of the glare so you guys can see. We'll fire it up, see if it looks anything like our original one. Hopefully it doesn't. Try to cut the glare off this thing. All right, probably the best bet to do is just capture this waveform. So we are on to number 3. We can actually see the firing event this time. So we've got the current ramp. Then we've got our control wire here. And then number 3 is supposed to be our control from the PCM. Maybe it doesn't happen at the same moment. Maybe I got a crap connection. Oh, there it is. Okay, so from the time it's commanded to the time it actually does its business, it's a little different. So there's a time delay between command and actual fire. I tell you what, let's change the resolution on this. Get ourselves a nice high resolution copy here. Go one step higher. We'll save that. We'll go inside here. Perfect. Before we run inside here, I've got the auto here. I believe this does the medium duty. It does cover you know, your C series up to like a C5500. So we'll take and get hooked up to this here. We'll check for codes. Oops. Well, I got it going through an auto scan. Sometimes that takes a little bit. Yeah. And that is the low coolant light. It's a little low on coolant. I see it's dripping out there in our parking lot, so it must have a coolant leak somewhere. At any rate, oh, there we go. So powertrain, no fault found. I don't remember what codes were in it before, but I do remember it had like injector code for number 3. Just happen to see on the seat here, we got some receipts from the place it was at. Okay, so this is right before it came to us on December 21st, 2015. It says had water and fuel code P2269, PO299, turbo underpower, turbo boost performance. Let's see. Charge batteries, and it still would not start. I ended up putting in 2 new batteries in it and charged batteries for a day. It finally started. I found some smokes 8 and running on 7 cylinders. I can't read it. Found fails power balance and cylinder contribution on number 8. R&R number 8 injector could not road test, no dealer plate. I put old batteries back in it, charged of course. Customer bought injector, 180 bucks. So he put in a number 8 injector. Sounds like I had an issue there. And then this is another bill. Programmed correct tire size and gear ratio to correct speedometer. Found PO303 Misfire number 3. Found a 1229 number 3 injector and a PO674 number 4 glow plug. Circuit failed. R&R number 4 glow plug, that part all okay. Pinned out and load tested circuits for P1229. Found they passed. Swapped out number 3 and 5 injectors. Still no change. Took to GM store. Reprogrammed ECM. No change. Tested circuits. Key on, engine off. Found. According to GM testing, it needs an ECM. Total hours 9. Total amount of hours 9 hours at reduced rate, 225 bucks. So at this point, the guy says that it needs a computer. So we got some more bills here. This is, I think, all an effort to fix this skip. Glow plug and nut. Okay, so here's just the parts invoice for a glow plug and nut. And these are the ones from our local Chevy dealer. That's just a quarter return for $180. This one is a fuel injector for $402. Alright, so it appears that they had lots of time into it. They tested all circuits and got to the point where we got, and this guy determined that it needs an ECM. According to this here, took to GM store, reprogrammed ECM, no change, tested circuit, something, key on, engine off, found according to GM testing, needs ECM. And that he had 9 hours into it. Well, at least I didn't put a computer in it, I guess. Who the heck does handwritten invoices still? I don't know where the heck that was. I thought he said he had it at the GM dealer. Maybe a guy that works for the GM dealer, I don't know. Maybe that's what they do when they only collect cash. Well, whatever. But I thought you guys would be interested in that. Like I said, these things are all stuffed up here on the seat. Alright, well, my day, that escalated quickly. That's the way it is. So it's past quitting time, so figured good time. We've got to wrap this thing up. I don't even remember what we were talking about. So let's just go ahead. Let's try to, I can organize my thoughts while we're poking around here. So first of all, let's go look at a firing event. Where'd my zoomer go? And let's just kind of reflect on what we have here. So the blue trace, that is the command from the PCM. So that wire is at 0 volts and then gets bumped up to 5 volts and then back to open and then 5 volts. That sends the signal to the FICM to tell it, hey, fire the number 3. I think if it could talk, that's what it would say. So the time, that on time, from when that baby sends the command, roughly, is from there to there. So from the time the PCM says, hey, fire the number 3, it takes 22 milliseconds for it to fire the number 3 at an idle. This time basis here could change. I'm sure there's some processing that has to be done, but that's just kind of a observation. So that's why we weren't seeing it on our screen initially. And then as we kind of zoom out on this, I think we can see that that looks pretty repetitive. That distance seems to be about the same. So just so you guys could kind of see that, I thought that was kind of interesting. And then what we can do is we can go look at an event. So this is pretty neat. Okay, move this out of the way. Oops, you big dummy. Oh, look at that, I got it straight back to where we need to be. Well, she's pretty sensitive. I know my clicker sounds pretty loud. So we can see our current ramp. We'll get some values here so we can do some measuring. We'll see our current was peaking out about 14 amps, or running steady about 14 amps. It peaked, where did it peak at? About 18 amps. Okay. This is our green trace there. So this right here, that is our injector feed. So that's fed battery voltage. So that should be around, so that's 12 volts right there. And then as this injector is turned on, you can see that's when we get, gets pulled to ground. And at that point, so this is what's interesting about this system. At that point, this is not just 12 volts being pulled to ground. At this exact moment, when that goes to ground, it also drives this high to like 50 volts. And I'll show you that on we'll show you that on another waveform. So that's where I thought I made the mistake in the first portion of the video, but we never did look at a known good waveform where it was actually, this was being turned on, voltage is being applied, the amperage is going up, once the injector opened, it reduces its voltage. We'll see that on another waveform. Actually, maybe we can open another one. We can. So I can kind of show you what's happening at the same time. So this will be, I think, a good example, perhaps. Maybe we can just toggle back and forth. Okay, let me get rid of we'll get these in the same scale so we can just flop back and forth here. Okay, so we can see this one here is holding about, so that's 1.5 volts. So 1 volt is 10 amps. So, about 14 amps. So it's about the same scale. We can see this is from our, our bad FICM. So this is going to be a firing event. This is pretty neat. Okay, so when this is being pulled to ground, the amperage is starting to spike. At the same moment, the injector driver is driving high. It's driving all the way up to 50 volts until that injector, fully peaks open. So the injector is fully open. Now when the injector is fully open, it can sit here and it'll drop back to near battery voltage. So right there is around, right in this area here is around battery voltage. You can see that come across scale. And then it will go from battery voltage off to on, off to on, off to on, because it's easier to hold the injector open once it's open. And then all of a sudden, it pops back here, injector goes closed, and then the event happens again. So this is what if we probed into the voltage feed side of this is what we would have seen. We would have seen that voltage got driven high at the exact moment. You know, I hope that makes sense. But that's what's happening the same exact time this is happening. You know, it's getting pulled to ground, but it's also, you know, stuffing it right full of, you know, 50 volts. And that's how it's able to, you know, pull these big amps, you know, hold it open. And this voltage that you see right here, where this pops back up to the 50 volts, that's, you know, what they call it, phantom voltage, ghost voltage. So when this magnetic coil collapses, you know, that's your flyback voltage on that wire. So I hope that makes sense as to what's happening. And we should be able to zoom out on this. Oops, I'm on the wrong zoomer. And we should be able to see this event happening right here. So actually, so let's see, this would be the number 5 cylinder, I think, if I remember the firing order right. So we'll zoom in on that. So we can see the voltage being pulled up. Of course, you know, this down here is, you know, phantom amperage. I think on my other scale, or on our other waveform we were looking at, I actually had this turned. Yeah, I had a filter on this one, I'm sure. Yeah, so I had a filter turned on our, you know, our suspect bad one. That's why we didn't see the little traces like we're seeing on this one. If I had the filter on, we wouldn't pick this up. But yeah, you're essentially getting the same thing. Yet when the injector's commanded on, of course, we didn't have the current ramp on, you know, this injector here. This is number 5. We didn't have the current ramp on it, so we're not going to see this current event. Let me find a wiring diagram here. If I had taken my current clamp and I'd put it on the wire that was, you know, universal with all of them, you know, we could have seen the current ramp for every single, well, for 4 injectors. So for number 2, 3, 5, and it looks like 8, we could have seen that, but I only had the current ramp hooked to the number 3. So I should have done that. That would have been a little more clear. This may not be clear to you guys at all. It is getting late. So anyhow, I just thought this was a really unique waveform, and I'm happy I have it, because now I understand these injectors a little bit better. I think, didn't I make the mistake in the first video because we read, oops, I always keep getting the wrong zoomer. Because we read that the injectors were supplied battery voltage and then just pulled to ground. Well, that's somewhat true. They are supplied battery voltage, as we can see through here. Well, not so much through there. Through here, we can see they're supplied battery voltage initially pulled to ground, but at the same time, simultaneously, they're also jammed up to 50 volts. So that's where it gets you, because of this little guy right here. So yeah, you can see when the current's being pumped up, you know, it's also being supplied voltage. So it makes a difference on where you back probe on these as far as what you're going to see. So I hope this all makes sense. I'm not real good at explaining electrical mumbo jumbo, we'll call it, but. So that's it, folks. I told the guy I'd come and get it. Thing's been sitting in my parking lot for like 2 months now. I'm getting sick of looking at it, to be honest with you. And I could use the parking space. I'm glad we fixed it. We did make the proper diagnosis. I have no idea what part one of the video looks like whatsoever. After months go by, I totally forget. There is good value in note-taking. You know, as Ivan always tells me, did you write it down? Well, if I did, I probably wouldn't know where I put it. So you got to get a notebook. Get a notebook. Write stuff down. Make yourself notes, particularly if your vehicle is going to sit around for a couple months. But I'm just glad that the used module he had was right. We didn't have to screw around, no kind of programming or anything there, even though the numbers on them were different. You know, I guess these LLY engines are the same. I don't know a lot about the Duramax or, you know, much modern day diesels in general. I just simply don't work on them. But luckily this was an easy fix, an easy one to diagnose, so no big troubles there. It's just too bad he's already wrapped up, you know, looking at the invoices, you know, like $1,000 or something into it already. Our bill was, you know, nowhere near that, obviously. We just got a little bit of time into it, and he bought the used computer. I don't know what he's got into that. Let's see what else. I think if you don't understand how I explained, you know, how this injection system works, I might have explained it in part 1. If you don't explain this, leave some notes in the comments. What I can do is perhaps find a good article that explains it better than I can. Certainly there has to be many of those. I can put it like in a, on OneDrive or Google Drive or something like that, and just put a link in the description. So, but if everybody's satisfied with the with the waveforms we gathered, with the testing that we did, and everybody's happy and we're all smiles and giggling, then we'll leave it at that and we'll move on. So, and that's what I got to do. I got to keep moving. I got to do a little work on the Honda, actually. She needs to be cleaned out. That's about all the work I do on it. I'm just kidding. They all break. They're all junk when they're broke, so don't get all excited. So, Google+, Facebook, all that business. Check us out there. YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to us if you haven't yet. I don't know why you didn't. It's easy. Just click the button and you'll be up to date with all of our latest publications that we roll out weekly. We try to, as time allows, get them out as much as we can. A lot of good stuff coming up, more than likely, hopefully. So that's it. If I can do it, you can do it. Don't forget it. Thanks for watching.